Hey everyone, good morning. Very excited to be here today. So today we'll be talking about a very practical playbook for AI search. Everyone's talking about tracking, but we'll talk about actions as well. And we'll talk about how do you find the right prompts to track, how do you prioritize, how do you figure out the search volume, and then what exact actions you need to take to actually improve your visibility. So let's get right into it. Now this is some data for our own brand. This is not visibility, this is leads. So this is from a couple of months back. In May, about 2.5% of our total leads were from AI. And if you see just 3 months after that, we increased it to 11% based on certain things that we did. And it's even more right now, like more than 18 or 19% right now. And here is another example of a brand we just worked with last month. So they started on 1st of September, 0% visibility, no answers mentioning them. Also, the interesting thing is it's a 9DR website in a very competitive space, basically email marketing and customer data platform. And within 2.5 to 3 weeks, they did certain things, content and certain optimizations, went to 4% in visibility and a bunch of their leads coming from AI. And before we get into rest of the things, it's very important to talk about the funnel. We know top of the funnel, bottom, middle and bottom of the funnel. So this is the traditional funnel. If you know, usually it's like 20 plus touch points that it takes for a customer to actually learn about something, figure out what tools or products to go for, and then finally they are ready to take a decision. By the time they're on your website, they're still not very educated or very high intent, so they don't convert that well. I'm talking about traditional search. With AI, what is happening is your entire funnel takes place inside ChatGPT or an AI search platform like that. So what happens is user would ask something like, okay, what is the best CRM? Then they would ask, what are the different solutions available in the market? What are the reviews and things like that? So within 5 minutes in that one chat, by the end that they go to the 6th or 7th message, they're already pretty educated. They turn into a high intent visitor. And when they come to your website, they have a much, much higher chance, like 3 to 8x better conversion rate as compared to traditional search. Now, very quickly, why listen to me? We have been in this generative AI space for the last about 5 years now. We were one of the first GPT-3 apps to go into production AI content platform. Then in 2022, ChatGPT launched. Just 10 days after that, we launched our product called ChatSonic, which was basically solving for what ChatGPT didn't have at that time, which was web search, voice, and few other things. So we have built an AI search system before. Even Satya Nadella featured us in their Bing AI launch presentation in 2023. So point being, we have built AI search systems before, so now we know how to optimize for it. So you can trust us with what I'm going to talk about today. So the very first thing is tracking what matters. And we'll talk about the metrics, but I see a lot of people get confused with certain terminology, which is like some people confuse citations with mentions or a few other things. So let's clear that up first. This is a screenshot of ChatGPT. Of course, you know the question or the query that you ask, that's the prompt. The actual answer that you get, it's called a response, right? Now, the key things here, when a brand is mentioned in the actual answer, so you see the yellow thing, that is basically called a brand mention when you're actually recommended as a product or service. Whereas the green stuff, which is what were the pages or sources used to come up with that answer, that is called a citation. Now, citations are of two types. You see them as this sort of like a window kind of thing, and then you also have inline citations. So if you see again the green box there, that's basically part of that individual sentence as well. So it's very important to know the difference between a mention and a citation, because those are the sort of the two things you want to optimize for. And this is like a quick translation table. Prompt is similar to a keyword. Response is sort of like your SERP results. And then citation is like backlink. And you care more about visibility and conversions than traffic in terms of AI. So the 5 key metrics you need to worry about or keep an eye out on. One is AI visibility score, which is basically what percentage of the relevant prompts or answers that you're tracking, your brand is mentioned there. So that is your AI visibility score. It's a 0 to 100 score. You can use that formula to calculate it. So this is sort of one of those North Star metrics. Second is brand mention. So this is the absolute number of mentions that you get in those answers. Again, similar to first one. The second most important North Star metric is citation rate, which is basically how much influence does your own content have in AI responses. So this is where you care about increasing the number of citations that are coming from your website for the answers or the prompts that you care about. Next one is share of voice, which is basically what's your market share relative to your competitors, because you want to probably have the most market share. And then fifth is sentiment, because if AI perceives your brand negatively, it won't benefit you. It would in fact be a negative perception and harm your brand. So you need to make sure that you're being represented positively, and you are trying to control the perception of the AI models by controlling, in a way, those sources which talk, let's say, negatively about you. And if you have not already started tracking in terms of the geo, the AI visibility stuff, this is what I recommend if you're not using any tools right now. So pick any 20 prompts. We'll talk about how to come up with those 20 prompts. Test on like 3 AI platforms, definitely ChatGPT, and maybe pick 1 or 2 other ones that are relevant for your industry. Test on incognito mode. You don't want personalization to come into play there. And then record this data every Monday in a spreadsheet, and then check those metrics every week, every Monday, to see if you're going up or down there. So this is like a quick way to get started. Now, talking about prompts, so there are a couple of sources everyone is already aware of. So you have certain traditional SEO sources, Search Console, Ahrefs, Reddit, Keyword Planner, and then of course your own support and sales data, like the conversations or the questions people are asking in your support channels and sales channels. Take all of that, the relevant keywords or questions, longer tail queries from there, and you can sort of use a prompt like this. It's on the deck, so you don't need to take a screenshot. I'll be sharing that across. So what we are doing in this prompt, you can put it in GPT-5 or Claude. Claude is a bit better, but you're giving it a bunch of seed keywords, and you're asking it to come up with different prompt variations of different types, like different intents, branded versus non-branded, and things like that, so that you get like a good set of those prompt variations to play with or to test on. And the other thing is, how do you prioritize what to focus on, which is where AI search volume comes into play. Now, of course, we don't have a, sort of like a keyword planner for AI right now. So this is like a very ballpark estimation. It's not very accurate, but it will give you some ballpark estimate. So you can use this formula. The AI volume estimate is basically keyword volume times the intent multiplier. So if you see for navigational, it's times 0.01, because people don't do navigational queries on ChatGPT. For informational and commercial, it's a bit higher. Conversational, it's much higher. So you can use a combination of it to figure it out and focus on high volume commercial intent queries. Or you can also use, we have this thing in Writesonic called Prompt Explorer, where we have data from about 200 million conversations. So you can also take advantage of that if you want a bit more accurate data there. So we talked about tracking. Everyone's talking about tracking. So I just wanted to first clear that off. Now next we'll talk about what do you actually need to do to fix your AI visibility. So again, similar to SEO, in GEO also, because GEO is still very much dependent on SEO. So you have those 3 pillars: off-page, on-page, and technical. I'll very quickly talk about each of these because we have limited time. So the most important one right now is off-page, because AI weighs third-party citations 6 times higher than your own content right now. And so that's why it's really important to focus on off-page. And these are some of the most common sources where AI gets its trust. So you have Wikipedia, Reddit, industry publications, news sites, things like that. With Reddit, I know last few weeks on LinkedIn, there's been all kind of stuff that, n equals 100 is messing up like the LinkedIn the Reddit citations and stuff. We have a study coming out on it. It's not true. But yeah, Reddit is still quite important. So yeah, there are 2 most important things for off-page actions. The very first one is, I want to know what are the pages that have mentioned my competitors, due to which they're showing up in the answers, where I am not mentioned, basically the citation gaps. And I want to be able to also get mentioned on those exact same blogs or pages. So what you need to do here is, so you need to figure out what are the top cited pages where you're not being mentioned. Again, if you're doing this manually, you can do it on those 20 prompts and do it in that spreadsheet. Or if you're using an AI visibility tool, it's much easier to figure it out. So you need to find those gaps. Now, each of those citations, it's not like one citation is mapping to one prompt. One citation is used for like tons of different prompts. So if you even get mentioned on that one sort of page, which is being cited in like 50 answers, a good chunk of those 50 answers or prompts will automatically start mentioning you. Like if you see this TechRadar example, it's about scheduling apps, and all of these different prompts is where that same article is being cited there. And similar approach to backlink outreach, you basically reach out to whoever the author of that article and give some value, give some data or maybe your free tool or something like that in exchange to get yourself mentioned there. And so yeah, that's one method. Another method here beyond outreach is paid advertorials. Now with SEO, we know sponsored articles don't work very well with Google, but actually with AI, it doesn't care about that sponsored tag. So feel free to use paid advertorials. Second is digital PR, very important. I think a couple of different talks even yesterday about this. And third is partnerships, so affiliate partnerships, content syndication programs, and things like that as well. Next is, so one thing we talked about was citation gaps. Second is UGC. UGC plays a big part, so do focus on Reddit. Apart from Reddit, you need to control your reference data, which is basically how your brand is being presented on third-party sources. Here you can see an example. We have been known as an AI content tool, so a lot of the answers in AI used to still talk about us as an AI content tool, even though we do a bunch of other things like GEO and AI visibility and all that kind of stuff now. So what we did is we recently got our Wikipedia page updated. That had a big impact. Another thing is G2, Capterra, any industry forums. So make sure every data point that you have and the overall brand messaging or positioning you have, that's up to date on those high authority third-party sources, trusted sources. And also, you're keeping the information like your pricing or maybe any competitor information or whatever, like all of those things up to date. Next, we have on-page authority. So the goal here is to create content that gets cited. So the most important thing here is, again, figuring out the right content topics to write on. So finding the winning topics. How you do that is basically see what AI currently cites. It could be third party, it could be competitors. Second, you basically cluster them based on similar intent or similar topics. And I'll talk more about it. So basically, you group by intent and common topics. So let's say, for example, if there are 10 pages which are being cited from different companies that have written about the best email marketing platforms, title could be different. So if you see here, this is for one of those customers that I had mentioned. This is a set of similar intent articles on the best customer data platforms for e-commerce. Now, if you see, all of them have different titles, but the intent is still the same. The topic is kind of the same thing. So this is where that client wrote like a much better article, which is optimized for AI, which is basically customer data platforms for e-commerce, and included certain other things like updating all the data, making sure they add few more examples to it, few more brands to it, pros and cons, key takeaways, all the standard stuff. And this became like one of the top cited pages for them across that sort of cluster there. So make sure you're using that clustering approach, and we can talk more about it. We have a booth, so come by there. We can talk about it in more details. Second thing is commercial intent is very important right now. Of course, informational is still important, but focus more on commercial because that would convert better. Informational queries can still be answered by AI chatbots directly. And there are these 4 main formats that are working really well. So one is listicles. 90% of the commercial mentions or commercial intent prompts actually come from listicles. Second is A versus B comparisons, where you're comparing yourself to a competitor or competitor versus competitor. This, a lot of people tend to miss A versus B versus C comparisons, which is basically 3-way comparisons. And these are used in a lot of random queries which you would have not even thought about, like pricing of some competitor or certain things like that. So this is definitely one to focus on. Competitor review articles. So these are like the 4 formats. And apart from this, homepage and product pages still play a big role. So in general, based on our data, product pages get 3 times more citations than any other kind of page. So still very important to focus on. And this is data based on our own platform. Data studies, if you have any unique information or data to share, that's again very important. Definition and FAQ content, still very relevant. Not that much, but still very, very relevant. Now, this is a very important framework. We are used to writing content, which is like 5,000 words long, where we start with introduction, and then we talk about some generic stuff, and then towards the end of it, in the conclusion, we talk about the actual answer of that query. So this framework, actually, it's flipping that whole approach, and this is really important for AI. You basically talk about the most important stuff first, then you talk about additional details, and then you give all the general info. This is where it will help you rank better and AI to read your structured content better. So try this approach out. We have tested on a bunch of clients working pretty well. And stop writing V. I mean, you should still write, but try to, at least for the first few paragraphs, try to use your brand name, because that would also get counted as sort of like a brand mention and get added to the memory of AI. So limit the use of V everywhere. Try to use your brand names at certain places. Of course, don't do like keyword stuffing and stuff, but try to use your brand name there. First 100 words get 80% of the attention, so make sure you are covering the most important information in those first 100 words, including your brand name, including any like sort of a quick answer of that query itself. And then again, yeah, one idea per paragraph. Tables, again, very important. They multiply your citations. Key takeaways should be added first. It gives the AI model an overview of what exactly the article will be about. Include facts and figures. Schema markup, again, still matters. I think few other people talked about this as well. And then same happens for meta tags. Now, meta tags are very important because many times AI actually doesn't go and scrape your entire article. It only reads through your metadata. So make sure your metadata is always up to date and it's being, because it will directly get used for those answers there. Now, again, few people talked about freshness signals. So AI has extreme recency bias. Like more than 65% of AI hits come from pages which are less than 1 year old or updated in the last 1 year. So make sure you keep updating your pages. And this is where make sure that the last modified date in your schema or in your content is always up to date. Another factor, we are still testing this, but we have seen some interesting results if you add updated and the current month in the title itself. That's another thing where we have seen it impacts because AI sees immediately, okay, this is probably a recent article there. Part 3 is technical foundation. I won't go too much into details here, but very quickly covering things. Make sure you're not blocking the right bots. Avoid too much JavaScript because JavaScript AI is not able to parse that. And then broken pages is very important. So you need to monitor your server logs or your audit logs. Make sure that there are no pages which are getting 404 or like a 500 error when, let's say, ChatGPT or certain model visits your certain pages. So these are like the very foundation elements. So I'm not going too much into the details here. And now very quickly talking about the divergence here. So far, until right now, every AI model is dependent on some index or the other. ChatGPT free uses their own index. ChatGPT Plus is using Google and sometimes Bing. It's like very, very random. Claude is using Brave's index. So every AI platform is dependent on some index or the other. So at this point, Geo still uses SEO very much as the foundation. But now this will start to diverge from next year. You have ChatGPT apps. You have agentic commerce coming in where people can directly click the buy button and don't even need to go to your website. Then ChatGPT released this Atlas browser, Perplexity has Comet. And then, of course, every model right now is trying to build their own index as well. So we'll start seeing a lot of difference probably in a couple of months or next year where it will no longer be that much influenced by Google index or Bing indexed. There would be a lot of factors that would come into play. And as a consumer, if you think about it, if I'm getting booking.com as an integration right inside ChatGPT and it can show me the results and I can also purchase it from there, why do I even need to go to any search results? I can just do everything in AI itself. So that is something where AI will tend to diverge from traditional search going forward. So now is the time to sort of pick it up. And just very quickly to wrap it up, at Writesonic we do generative engine optimization. We are a complete growth engine. So not just AI, we are doing content and SEO as well. And that is where one of our key things is this Action Center. We are one of the only tools who have the most advanced Action Center to actually help you fix your AI visibility, not just track data. And then I also talked about volume. So we have volume data and a bunch of other data points as well. And yeah, that's about it. Come by to our booth. We are at booth number 17, right next to the cafe. Get your free AI visibility audit and action plan. The deck is available on that link, that speaker deck link. And you can scan this QR code if later on you want to get an audit. And definitely let's connect on LinkedIn. You can search for me, Samanyu Garg, on LinkedIn. And yeah, thanks a lot for listening in. Thank you very much.